Okay. Uh, so this is it's 5:02. So we just start and use the time well that we have. So welcome all. Thank you, Dr. Vipul and the team of ISST for having me for this session on sports commercialization. And I'm looking forward to some nice discussion. I'll be sharing some thing from my side. It's all about the experience that I have and what I feel about the sports industry with the time that I've been spending with here. Uh, and it will be good to get some question answers. I can take the questions in between. Let's try to have uh, the shortened questions, so it will be good to take those very quickly. Otherwise, I don't want to miss it out. And at the end, also we'll keep some time towards question answers. So. So firstly, I think hope everybody's doing good, everybody's staying safe and taking care of themselves by washing your hands and not touching your face and nose and everything. So and staying indoors. So please do continue to do that. We are in a complete different once in a lifetime for us kind of phase where we don't know what is next. And the topic that we're going to talk about is sports commercialization or commercialization of sports. And this kind of things, this kind of pandemic is actually going to be a big opportunity at the same time setback to start with, but the bigger opportunity that's going to come out of the current situation. So to give you some background, who am I? I'm Siddharth Deshmukh, go with the name Sid, and I have been a competitive athlete while growing up. Unfortunately, had an injury, shoulder injury, and then could not take my sport to next level. I used to play badminton, but I never stopped playing. I'm growing up in 90s. There were no easily available operations or rehab kind of thing. So the whole process went for 3 years, and I actually could not play at competitive level. But after that, I started again playing at the college and university level. Played some badminton, squash, water polo, a lot of multiple sports that I played during the my growing up days, and for the school, college, and university level. Uh, but again, while as a typically growing up in 90s, there were no options to make a career in sports if you are not athlete, and that's where a typical thing happened to me being a doctor coming from doctor's family and coming growing up in 90s is the computer science happened for me. I did my computer science graduation from Pune from Modern College. I did my after that okay I did my computer science graduation, and believe me, it was no fun. I never enjoyed computer science myself, because from the classroom or the lab I used to always have a look at the ground and how people are playing there. But still, I finished my computer science graduation. I did my MBA IT from Symbiosis. Then I did my PGD HR from SIBM. Uh, Again, it's a back-to-back MBA that I did, and started my career with banking with UTI Bank, which a lot of people might not know. UTI Bank, which is now Axis Bank, which Axis Bank's earlier name was UTI Bank. So I was in the very first few people who joined the IT department of UTI Bank. I used to look at the business analysis and government business for them, and spent 2.5 years with them. Then moved back to Pune for my to join IT industry because that was the even though I did not enjoyed computers, but the IT industry was the booming industry, and I enjoyed Persistent Systems. I worked with Persistent for more than 2 years with the corporate planning and pre-sales and business development team. Uh, from Persistent, I moved on to join Tech Mahindra. I spent some time in Tech Mahindra looking at the Europe region for non-telco business, the product engineering business. From there, I joined Global Logic. I was looking at the Asia business for the digital transformation. That was the first time I actually got a good working with the startup industry, and what I really started enjoying the business side of startup industry. It's more the why I'm doing what am I doing more than why am I doing. So I started enjoying that. After doing that for Asia business for almost two plus years, I joined Aztecsoft, which became Mindtree. Spent 5.5 years with them. Spent a significant time in the US looking at the US West Coast region with the startup industry, the web industry, and the emerging technologies kind of industry. Uh, so while doing that, all those things were happening around me, and something was still missing, and something was not really. As you say, right? Like less salt was less in the food. So luckily, I started with a colleague of mine, and in Mindtree, I started training for the long distance running and everything. While doing all those activities, we were training at the Stanford campus in the US, in California. And while doing that, I started while going for the training, or every evening, I started looking at the whole sports science division that they had at the university. Started looking at the whole technology incubation division that they had, and started understanding this, like started getting interest about what sports you're doing if you're not playing. So what all can you do? And that's where my whole interest in the started coming back. My passion started creeping back in my career. And 2014 is 13. I came back from the US, and 14 I started my own company, Arima Ventures. We started with the whole management consulting approach with a different twist. We call it the CXO as a service, which is providing the leadership position and the turnkey consulting projects for a lot of companies who are startup or emerging companies. And been doing that for last 7 8 years now. The reason for me to get into that company was to start explore myself in the sports industry. So guys, it's like something that really I really feel connected to is it's not a statement for by a big person only, but it is something that when somebody says that okay, the dreams are something is not that you see when you're sleeping. It is something that doesn't keep you sleep, doesn't let you sleep. It's by Dr. APJ Kalam, and that is something really happened to me. Like I wanted to be in sports. For me, the biggest passion about what am I doing was always about sports, and it it started with the whole what people are doing, the cricket, and obviously grew up in Mumbai, right? And 90s, 80s, and 90s, like all cricket hammered to me. Why cricket, and what is the whole commercial side of it, and how does that grow? What are the deals happening? A lot of things were happening, and I'm talking about this. I'm talking about 2013-14, but the background that I had was started with the whole 83 to 92, 87, 92, 96, 99. I'm giving all the reference to Cricket World Cup because that's what I grew up with. Uh, so with that dream, I started my own company in the whole sports management industry. Started working with, was lucky to be at the right place at right time, working with a lot of good people that I met in this industry. As one thing we always say that sports industry is such an amazing place because there's everybody is sportsman. And sportsmen are not they are competitive, but they know how to respect each other. There is a different kind of we are all connected with one single passion, that is sports. So while doing all these activities in my under my company, I work with ITPL, the tennis league, Pro Kabaddi League, ISL, on the whole sponsorships and the commercial side or brand engagement side or brand consulting side, fan engagement side. I worked on those, but those used to be small time assignments on 2 months, 3 month assignment. Uh, in this process, I got to work with a friend of mine in the US, where we worked with NBA for Sacramento Kings, making the Golden One Arena that Sacramento Kings has as a world's first tech arena or connected arena, where the arena speaks to a fan rather than fan asking to having the information. It's a phenomenal thing that I got to work, and I felt okay. Now I can combine my technology and sports together towards how do we make more out of sports? What are the things that we can do in sports to give it back to the sponsors, give it back to the partner, the whole ecosystem we are talking about. After that, I worked with Riti Sports. I'm the brand manager for MS Dhoni. I worked with CSK. I got to work with Chennai FC. Uh, After that, I was the CEO for Khel Now, which was India's largest football content platform. Grew the whole base from quite a bit during the FIFA World Cup in 18. Uh, I personally have worked very closely on the sports development because that's what my passion is, the development of sport, the grassroots level development. To do that, I work with a lot of clubs who are working at the grassroots level, like Shillong Lajong FC, then She Kicks, which is by Adi Chavan, who is India's goalkeeper and captain for football. Then a small club in Pune called Rising Pune. I help them through the CSR activities towards how do you make the benefit out of the whole ecosystem that you have towards growing it. in that ecosystem, we start looking at not only the player development, but the infrastructure development, the ecosystem development, training the coaches, making sure that coaches are getting the livelihood, the whole ecosystem getting the livelihood. Uh, while again, parallelly, I've been the mentor and advisor to Qatar Sports Tech, which is India's world's first sports tech accelerator, based in Qatar. Started with the aim towards 2022 FIFA World Cup. That how do you have this technology impacting the whole this sports vertical and impacting the whole the football World Cup which is coming up. Uh, I've been a South Asia head for a company called Genius Sports, where we work on the data and media rights, which is used toward the which is used toward the legalized betting market in the world. I have a varied experience in over 18 years, 12 plus years in the corporate IT management consulting, and last 6, 7, 8 years on the sports industry. Got to work with really great people, and that is what my career or my background is all about. And if you have any question, we can actually take those questions in between also. But I can move to the something beyond that now, beyond my own career or what I am, how I built my career now. I would like to move towards the topic that we're going to talk about is sports commercialization. So when you talk about sports, the core of sports is all about athlete. So we cannot ignore an athlete. How much ever you talk about the team or the league or anybody and everybody, that everybody's putting effort. But if there is no athlete, there is no sport. So your core always stays an athlete. So how do you look at the whole sporting decade in India that you're looking at? If you remember looking at the old games, if Indian cricket team used to play in 80s and 90s or something, you're talking about the captain, you're talking a team, one coach, one manager, and we used to see Dr. Ali Rani as the only one physio looking at everything from physio to muscles to coaching to conditioning. Everything was one person. A great guy, but obviously that was the one role that we had, and support staff was very limited while growing up. But now, the if you look at the late in 2010, a decade of 2010, or since Gary Custon and just before that, how the whole thing started changing is we started having a complete dynamic, like companies like Sports Mechanics are coming into picture. We're talking about Agram Technologies coming into picture. All those players started coming into picture with a lot of data around the game. So sports analysts become a regular member of your team. You are talking about the mental coach and the physical coach. You are talking about strength and conditioning, separate coaches started traveling. Nutrition, dietitian, the masseuse is separate, the physio is separate, sports scientist is separate. You are talking about now a bowling coach, a batting coach, a fielding coach, and the overall technical director kind of main coach. You're talking about the team who is also supported by the specialist throwdown guys and all those things. I'm not saying that was not there earlier, but the visibility that we started looking at it started growing. So that means when I say the whole the India cricket team entourage increased from 20 to 30, 35 now, that means the 15 people are, we still have talking about 15 players. But beyond that, we are talking about the ecosystem which got developed on the commercial side, which is around 20 people on the support system. We started getting developed, and that's where the opportunity started coming in. So just try to, I take cricket as an example because that is people can relate to very well. And again, as I said, the Mumbai kid grew up watching cricket and still like for me, Sachin is still the god, and MS is still the demigod, and so that is what I am. Uh, so if you look at the era before 83, before Kapil Dev, it was India was playing a different level. After that, there's a different mindset that came into picture with the aggression. We're talking about after that, the World Cup, first World Cup happened in India in 87 with Reliance sponsored, which was Reliance Prudential Cup. That happened. From there, the color clothing and the day and night games with the third umpire for a out that came in 92. Uh, Channel 9 getting the opportunity, and they are talking about the first wicket in the third umpire run out is Sachin Tendulkar. So it's not the first to score 200, not the first to score 15,000 runs, but also first to be run out on a third umpire. We still remember the amazing production quality that we saw Jaunty Rhodes going parallel to the floor and jump, going almost 10 feet on in the air to get Inzamam ul Haq run out. So we are talking about multiple activities started growing. From that 96 World Cup happened in India, the phenomenal uh, uh, the visibility that came to because of the broadcaster, the dish TV that came into, and or the whole ZTV and Sony, and started coming in in early 90s. So they started getting so we started talking about having another different aspect of the whole commercialization started growing up. Then we had uh, after Azharuddin, we had a Ganguly period of 2003 when India reached the finals, lost did not win the finals, but and after that we are talking about the whole Ganguly's amazing career with Indian team. Then we talk about Dhoni's career. Then Greg Chappell thing happened. 2007 happened, and after that we reached a level where BCCI or the Cricket Federation or any federation like the Cricket Federation did not pay to show the game. They started getting paid for their games to be shown, and that's where the big revenue started coming in, the broadcaster revenue. So the commercialization of sports actually kicked in very big with the broadcaster. So why I'm taking cricket as an example for India specifically, because broadcaster revenue has significantly played a big role in cricket for India. Yes, Kabaddi is coming in. Football, ISL is picking up pretty well. Table tennis, badminton. There are 13 leagues happening in India. But what IPL has done with so much of money and so much of visibility, we are talking about 16,500 crore for 5 years. The Star has paid to BCCI or IPL for 5 years of rights. So we are talking about huge money coming together. So 2007 was a turning point for India's commercialization in sports. Before that, yes, we saw Tendulkar getting advertisement, getting the MRF deal or the City Mastercard, yeah, I think it was Visa card, Pepsi. He started doing a lot of deal through. For me, the first the brand manager or the guy I remember is Mascarenas, who represents Sachin Tendulkar, and we started understanding, oh wow, this something like that 5 crore, 10 crore numbers were seen for an athlete to be getting paid. The Nimbus came into picture, and 2007 India winning 2007 World Cup with a guy with a long hair coming from Ranchi changed the whole spectrum of where India can go. I'm not saying he changed it, but he was instrumental in taking the brand ahead. The India winning the World Cup 2007 2020 World Cup, and the inauguration of IPL that happened with Lalit Modi, and the whole IPL bandwagon came into picture. And what success that we have seen the 12th year, 13, it was supposed to be 13th year. We don't know where it's going to happen right now, where it is, how it's going to happen right now. For me, if you ask me, this is the right year to make IPL. IPL is like play with only Indian players, like make it a real Indian Premier League. Out of 24, 25, you still have 16 players who are Indian players. Every team has it. Why not play with only Indian players and not get the foreign players for this year? Play without the fans in the stadium and play for the broadcaster. I think it's a fun thing to consider. I don't know if BCCI, IPL, or Star may consider this, but this year there's a possibility of this thing happening. Uh, but yes, last 12 years we have seen a different graph, and in that specifically after 2007 and the IPL, the biggest thing happened for India was 2011 World Cup in India. Mahendra Singh Dhoni hitting the last ball, the ball for six, winning six that he hit, and the whole brand management started changing. The teams were getting there was money was obviously there. There was money started coming in cricket through IPL, but the money started coming into the whole brand as a person, and MS Dhoni became like after Sachin, MS became the first person who crossed the big numbers on the brand management. So when I talk about commercialization of sports, I'm also talking about I'm still sticking to the one person or these people, they're athletes. So the athletes started getting developed, athletes started getting going, they started getting visibility. So if you look at beyond cricket, we're talking about PV Sindhu, phenomenal visibility that she has. Saina Nehwal, Sania Mirza, Mansi Joshi, with world number two para badminton player and current world champion. Kind of support that they're getting and the visibility that they're getting. It's all because of social media boom that happened, and visibility. The people started listening to them. People started understanding about who they are. And the last page of the newspaper, last two pages of newspaper are not only about cricket, but they talk about other sports as well. And sometimes you get to see more other sports more than cricket, and that's a fun part. And I think that's what it's all about, the evolution that we are talking about for sports in India. Uh, so while this thing was happening on commercial side, like players started getting good money, like MS happened. Kohli is a great example of the commercialization. Not only that, we're talking about Raina, Shikhar Dhawan, and all those other players also started getting the endorsements or good money from the brands or the team that they were looking at. But other than that, when we're talking about this, other sports started picking up. They started getting at the small level, but they started getting some visibility. Uh, at one side, the IPL was growing phenomenally. The other side, the hockey was suffering, football was suffering. So people suddenly come and say that cricket has killed a lot of sports in India. No, it is not that way. It is not cricket. Not either cricket has killed the sport, nor media has killed the sport. It is about the competitiveness and the fan engagement that can happen. So people, all the hockey league had a problem. I League had a problem. ISL still having the problem about not having fans in the stadium. Uh, Kabaddi is getting has a good viewership, but I don't know how many of them are the fan, but they are good viewership. The stadiums are small stadiums, so you can see it there, they're getting full. Table tennis is getting there. So when we're looking at all these things on the commercial scale in Indian sport, nobody else is making money where they can say we are profitable, but they are sustaining because the brands are starting putting in money. There is Fiat, there is Hero, there is Future Group and Reliance, there are Jio and Airtel, Vodafone. All these brands started coming in more and more towards supporting sports, putting in money, and they started looking at sports as a good vehicle for marketing. So marketing earlier used to be marketing of sports, but now the marketing through sports has picked up so well that it's really started picking up at a good level. Hero has been a great supporter of Indian football. Then we are talking about SIAT supporting the Ultimate Table Tennis for to start in our early days. Then we are talking about Hockey India was supported by SAIL and the government organization. But again, the commercials were not happening because everybody started. But the moment they saw IPL, they wanted to replicate the model of IPL, and that is where the whole problem happened for India. The replication of IPL was not possible for across all the sports because IPL or cricket in India does not need fans; they are already created. You are going to look at how you engage fans, how do you take it to next level. What was happening in other sports, everybody started going out fan engagement. No, they first had to do fan development, and that is where the whole the screw up happened about the other sports not getting that kind of. They went after signing great players, doing lot of spend on the players and the teams and all those activities are happening. But the thing is, they missed out the main core, which is who is going to watch it. The viewers are viewers. You have to convert the viewers into the fans and the fans into fanatics. There's a process that happens, and from viewer to fan is a process of fan development. From fans to fanatics, we're talking about fan engagement and making them hardcore guys. We everybody talk about in India, everybody talks about how are we great fans of Manchester United, Liverpool, and Real Madrid, and all those things, right? Premier League or even NBA teams. We have great fans of that, and they do a lot of business from India. Those companies have started wishing Happy Holi, Happy Baisakhi. There's no reason for Manchester United to wish Happy Holi and Happy Baisakhi if they're not looking at 1.3 billion people target user base that they have. So when we are looking at this, that's the commercial side. They're going towards the commercialization because they are saturated in their own geography. They see India as a great potential. We are talking about the youngest country in the world. We have around 65% of the population under the age of 35. So we are talking about around 800 million people under the age of 35. So that is a young population. So everybody wants to target that. Everybody wants to go after that. And Indian sport itself is missing out on that because they just taking it, they just want to make money out of it. No, money will be a byproduct. First, you have to develop those fans, you have to develop that grassroots. You have to make sure that if you have a Pune club, then you have to have players playing from Pune and taking it to the next level. If you're talking about the local clubs or for people, the community development should happen because then you need a local player to be part of that. I'm not saying the Pune team should have all the players, all the 11, 12 players from Pune, but at least have two or three players. For that, you have to invest in the grassroots level. You have to invest in development level. So the commercial also has a big part to play at the grassroots level. Understand there is a big market to open up academies, give good quality training. An academy is a business which is a cash positive business from day one because you're talking about a ground which can be rented. You're talking about 10 kids, 15 kids, 20 kids, 30 kids who come and start playing on the ground that you have. Uh, we are talking about a lot of activities. in we're talking about a lot of activity happening at the youth sport level. That becomes a commercial side as well. That is become the opportunity uh, on the scale we are talking about. The base has to be right. Why is Star Sports and the CII talking about making India play that let 300 million kids play 1 hour every day? Because we have to look at the whole development from the grassroots level to take it to next level. We are looking at the area which is going to be a big thing for Indian future. And if that happens, right now when I see my kids playing, say, kabaddi or football, then I know these are the future of the fans of that game or the players and the fans of the game. So this is what we are talking about, the commercial side of one part of it. Uh, I just want to. Sorry, I have a few questions. Uh, so yes, I have a question here which is talking about yeah, and yeah, few people are saying nice to see me. Yes, yeah, thank you. Nice to see you as well. Uh, so a few people are asking about how do we develop fans. Uh, so the fan development is a process that you have, right? You are talking about get the community engaged. You're talking about team has to look at what am I doing for the community? Are we getting involved with are my players getting involved with the community? Is my team thinking about the community? What can be done? Am I going to the schools and am I taking the schools involvement towards it? Am I looking at the philanthropic approach or the CSR kind of approach? Am I looking at the local corporates getting involved with us and taking it to the next level? Imagine the Balewadi Stadium in Pune, which was a home ground for Pune City, Pune FC, then Bharat FC, DSK Shivaji, and FC Pune City. A lot of I League and ISL team came out of Pune. None of them are there right now. The problem was the capacity of 18, 20,000, and you see hardly 2, 3,000, 5,000 people in the stadium. The one of the biggest problem was you're talking about the accessibility. You're talking about have you made something which is going to be exciting for the whole family to go. The success of IPL, again, if you look at it, it's about the women getting involved as the viewers and the fans. That was a big success of IPL. ISL did try that with Hrithik Roshan and what is it, Varun Dhawan and all those people, but the thing is, involvement wasn't there. So it is not only about it's not only about Shah Rukh Khan waving, but his involvement in Kolkata Knight Rider and the IPL was big. It's not about Preeti Zinta; it is about the involvement that you're talking about. But these players did not have the involvement. The youth, you're talking about a youth club can develop fan. It's imagine now. FC Pune City having a great place for the youth development. You're talking about the moment I'm talking about I have a senior team for my football team, and I have around 500-600 kids I'm training. Why am I not getting those 500-600 teams and their parents and targeting their schools to be part of the games which I have? Why don't I give access to them when I'm training? Why am I not taking my players to these schools and these coaches for them to feel, the kids to feel good? Because the youth club can develop fans, and those becomes the fanatics for you, because that the what you develop, whatever we learn. Why am I saying I'm so passionate about cricket and sports? Because that is what I did in the growing up days, and when something gets hammered on you during your growing up days, that stays with you forever. It's like whatever happens, you will still support that team, or you will start supporting that community. Whatever new thing happens from that community, if Pune does not have any team right now for football ISL, the new teams come from Pune, the people will support because they will feel okay, there's a connectivity with it. So that's why the youth has a big role, or the youth club has a big role to play when talking about the development of fan. Uh, Also, how do you develop fans? You have to look at the whole technology as a spectrum. We can't underestimate the role of technology in the whole fan engagement or the role in sports. When you're talking about, I give you example of the Sacramento Kings NBA team in the US, about the connected arena, which is a smart arena where the whole stadium speaks to a fan rather than I need to do. It's like it tells me when is a new game happening, what is my standing. I without me even asking for it, ticket booking, to view to book the seat. What is the view in the stadium for me? What kind of food I can order? Where is the nearest restroom? Do I need to get a parking spot, or can I book a Uber? And everything it's about, I don't have to do anything as a fan. They are pushing information to me. and which is making me more excited and more connected with the whole thing. I saw this 5 years back in the US, and these I don't still see that in India. We try to do it in India, but again, India has a different problem that no teams own a stadium or arena. So all the arenas, all stadiums are owned by government and federations. So who will make the investment kind of thing? So it's a different game. Cricket can do that, but I don't know. The problem will be the bandwidth in the stadium when you have 50, 60,000 people sitting there. Uh, Somebody asking me about my views on the PPP model in sports. PPP is the public, private, and government partnership. I think it's a great model to look at, but it is not only about the commercialization. It is about first the sustainability. You have to look at the sustainability. Government has to give up. Like I don't know what is happening with the Ballyvedi Stadium. It was built. It has got some amazing facility. Everything is there, but I don't know what is there because even though I'm part of the sports industry and working passionately so much, we don't know how where it is headed. But the public-private partnership model is where the government and the corporates come together and the community comes together and start developing it. I think that's a phenomenal model to look at, and I think that's the future because how much ever government wants to control it or all the thing, it has to be supported by the local community and people who want to support it, take it to next level. So yes, my views it are very much positive for that. Uh, there is a intent on the people who wants to take it. I have still yet to see the intent from the government who wants to give it and do it. So how do you develop players with different disciplines and behaviors as a coach, just for them to better and become good players? Uh, okay, so this is a good question, and to be very honest, it's a long session for itself. So I'll just try to keep it little short. How do you develop players and with different discipline? You have to look at from the mental perspective. See the you physical coaching and everything is happening because you are talking about the players who are coming to at competitive level at certain level. Uh, so when you are looking at that player, he's already there with the skills and stamina. All the four S's are probably ticked there: skill, strength, stamina, and speed. We are talking about the mental side of it. Even if you go back and see the what happened to Indian hockey team in the Rio Olympics, we lost or drew almost all the games in hockey in last 60 seconds. We were leading, but we drew that game. Uh, we were on the draw, but we lost the game because last 60 seconds we gave up. It's a whole mental thing. The game is played very much here. It's about how you're mentally fit are, and you have to start training your kids at an early age towards the whole mental conditioning. And there are phenomenal mental conditioning coaches. Paddy Upton is one of the great guys who can learn from. In Pune, we have Dr. Swaroop Savnoor, who is a great mental conditioning coach, and there are others as well. So you have to work on these people and start looking at these. Uh, I'll stick to the commercial side of it, try to wrap it up, and then take the more questions. Uh, we are talking about the technology. I spoke about the whole connected arena. We're talking about other technologies. We are talking about now the commercial side is geofence ads. Imagine right now what is happening. A Real Madrid playing at their home ground. The people sitting in the stadium get to see this. The whole peripheral board has different ads showing the locally. But the same guy sitting in India with the broadcaster, we get to see different ads which are meant for the Indian geography. Or somebody sitting in Singapore get to see different ads. So we're talking about the same spot of advertisement getting sold multiple level as per your broadcaster and who has the rights, media rights. So imagine the new level. It's not only about the commercial side. I have $100,000 is my revenue. No, I'm talking about multiple of $100,000 based on the media and broadcasting. Imagine the games which will even if your team is playing the away games, the home ground can still be filled, and they are testing. The testing is happening where the game can be played with the holograms. So you're talking about the whole game in the live stadium when your home team is play, say it's a Liverpool and Manchester United game and getting played at the Manchester United away game from Liverpool in Anfield at Liverpool, you can still fill the stadium and get to see the game with the whole hologram. So the experience that you're going to get, you are talking about the AR and VR coming into picture. So there is a phenomenal experience that you can say. I don't have to be in the stadium to get the stadium feel. I can wear those big AR VR things and I get to see the whole stadium. You never know. It's a big opportunity for current this year's IPL. If IPL has to be played in next 3 months, and we can't get the fans to the stadium because of the pandemic, how about having a whole view from the pavilion side, having the view where I wear my glasses and get to see the whole stadium. I look right, left. I say get to see the filled stadium, get to see all the brands and advertisement across the stands, and I get to see the games and I get to cheer as good as I'm sitting inside the stadium. So that's a bigger opportunity. So that's a commercial side of sports we are talking about again. Also, the commercial side is not only about the media and broadcasting. You talk about the company like Catapult, which is the athlete. There's a variable for athlete performance management. Like you wear the variables on the back, and it's a whole the GPS enabled and the Bluetooth enabled uh, taking the all the parameters of the athlete about the and generating the heat map, what were the sprints, what was my distance and calorie burn, and the biomechanics and all those things taken into consideration to give data back to the coach to understand what has happened. There is a company called Snooze Fit in Pune, which has built a non-intrusive variable. Like your mattress become a smart mattress, where because it is known that your body recovers only when you are sleeping. At the resting period is when that's the only time when your body is recovering. So in that, I don't like to wear my Fitbit or Apple Watch or something intrusive on my body when I'm sleeping. But that smart mattress can capture all the information about my vital stats and everything when I'm sleeping. And in the morning, the coach has the data ready to decide whether how much should I train that person, where should I give him more or less, depending on the sleep pattern, depending on the recovery of the body for that particular player. We are talking about company like Straight Bat out of Bangalore. It's a friend of mine, the good friend of mine, who has built a technology which sits on the back of the cricket bat, a small chip, very light chip, and that has a capacity to store almost 300 balls. That the way batsman plays, so it talks about the impact of the bat. It talks about how your bat is coming. Is it coming from third slip, second slip, first slip? How are you playing that shot? Uh, what kind of if for left arm bowler, where the ball is hitting and how you're hitting. So all these parameters are getting synced on that small chip and getting stored on over the Bluetooth on the phone. So people can start the coaches can start look at data. Even the players can start analyzing their own data, how they played at particular condition. We're talking about company like, so these are wearable and technological company. I'm also talking about company like Run Adam, which is a marketplace for the whole sporting ecosystem, for athlete to coaches to academies to corporates, all the pillars of the sporting industry to come together, and where the transactions are happening, the athletes are raising funds for themselves through that. I'm advising that company, and MS Dhoni is one of the stakeholders in that company. He owns the company, and this is a great platform for a lot of people to come on board. We are through that company, we have supported almost 3,000 different athletes with their requirement for clothing to shoes and all those things. The corporates are putting in money. The academies are getting benefited. So a lot of activities happening on that platform. So it's not only about technology. Doesn't have to has to be a wearable or the IoT kind of or AR VR complex technology. This is a simple e-commerce or the Facebook kind of platform where the whole sporting ecosystem is onboarded. It's called Run Adam. So look at that platform. We're talking about a company called SparUp from Pune, which is also the athlete performance management. It does not have the variable like Catapult, but it has got all the other things that any variable data can go into this, and the athlete performance management can happen. There's a company called Acadware in Pune. Again, it is about the academy management. There are so many, there are hundreds and thousands of academies for multiple sports. How do you do the management from the training schedule to player profile to fees collection to raising requests and sharing information? It's a great platform that Acadware is working with almost all the ISL team at the academy level and the I League teams at the academy level. It's a great platform that you're looking at. Now you're looking at the other commercial side. The betting is not legal in India, but the game of skill is, and Dream 11 is a world leader when it comes to fantasy. So you're talking about the different aspect of commercialization where you can actually feel that okay, I am Dimaag se Dhoni. The Dream 11 and MS Dhoni, the collaboration is what I was responsible for, and I made that thing happen. And the whole Dimaag se Dhoni was a great theme that came from that engagement, because everybody feels that okay, I am. Everybody in India is a cricket pundit. Everybody knows how Virat Kohli should hit a ball, how how basic how our bowlers or Bumrah should should bowl or how Jadeja should do it. Everybody is a Pandit sitting here. So when we are saying that I'm Pandit, that means the biggest, best masterclass brain in cricket that we have in India is MS Dhoni, and so I become a Dimaag se Dhoni, and that's how I run my team. So that was captured on the B2C side. Imagine right now we're talking about 85 million user base. People are playing Dream 11. It was 2 3 years back. It was 5 million, 10 million kind of thing. We have seen a phenomenal growth in Dream 11. Dream 11 has gone beyond cricket to they are with Premier League. They are with NFL. They are with NBA and it's the kabaddi everywhere they are there, and it's a great platform. It's all data. It's a B2C platform. There's nothing called B2B wearables and all things. It's a plain B2C platform and phenomenal growth that is seen. It's the first sports technology unicorn out of India, right? And it's a unicorn is a $1 billion valuation company. It's right now sitting at almost $2+ billion valuation that company is sitting on, and it's a great uh, product and innovative product. It's not a, so they started a second company called FanCode, which is now the whole place where all the data is getting the content getting created, and that content is useful for people to understand what should I do on Dream 11 and all those things. Now FanCode has got the right for NFL to show it in India for next 5 years. So now the NFL entries happen. NFL is one of the richest game in the world, which is the football, the rugby football, what that American plays. So that viewership has now that broadcasting has come into India. So we are talking about that. We are talking about the growth of e-sport. It's phenomenal. Look at what is happening with one championship coming with E. Right now, NBA the season has stopped, but NBA has got the e-sport active out for the NBA. The NASCAR has come on NBA. The football is there, like FIFA, like the EA Sports or PS3s and the Xbox and everything. They're going completely bonkers with the whole esports, and it's a great market that we're looking at. The companies like Nodwin and Hangama game, the gaming companies in India also and internationally who are playing big role. And I don't know whether you saw a 16-year-old kid got a 1.2 or $1.5 million prize check for winning the esport gaming game last year. It's a great place, and esport is going to be part of the Olympics, the Asians, and the Commonwealth and everything. So this is what the whole commercial side is. When we are looking at the commercial side of any sport, we are talking about four pillars, which is the commercial side, which is pure sponsorship and marketing side. Second side is development side, which is the academy development and the coach development and player development, which is going to be the part where academy becomes the revenue. We talk about education in sports, a phenomenal area where the commercialization of sports has happened through education. Like you have to, you need. It's not about how you play. It's about understanding the game and being part of the whole ecosystem. People like me who played 25 years back, but now we are part of the whole ecosystem, which is supporting the athlete and the whole the commercial value around it. We talk about sustainability and CSR. There's a huge requirement, and you're talking about huge funds that can come into sports through CSR. CSR in sports is very much there, and the money can be used for any Olympic sport, for the infrastructure development, to the player development, to coach development, and paying the salaries of the coaches, creating employment. So the CSR is driven by the whole sustainable development goals by United Nations. And out of those goals, the moment you're talking about the equality, you're talking about the poverty and all those things, we can also align a lot of goals of them to sports. And that is where sustainability of and through sports becomes a big commercial area that we are talking about. Uh, Again, to name few things, there are a lot of allied industries around the athlete that we have as an athlete as a core. We're talking about nutrition, diet, you're talking about coaching, infrastructure, the grassroots development, professional sport, university sports, fitness and wellness, technology, talent management, operations. So there are event management, marketing. So the mental conditioning coaching, mental strengthening, performance analytics. It's a huge allied industry that we are talking about. So we are looking at not only a part which is a commercial because of sponsorships or because of marketing. We are talking about the whole area of sports commercialization, which has seen a growth. Right now, the numbers, if I'm not wrong, in USA, the sports industry contributes to almost $80 billion to the GDP, where in India it is only $2 billion. We are three times the size of the US in the population, and we are 140th time the contribution to GDP. Why can't sports contribute more? we have, that means you have a great opportunity for us to grow. Not everybody got to be part of the sunrise industry while growing up. Before the earlier we talked about the manufacturing or automobile or internet or banking or telecom as sunrise industries. But right now, the generation that we are in, or the sports become the sunrise industry, and you get to grow with it. It's a great place for us to grow. So we are talking about, and I'll just give one smile final landscape, and then I'll take the questions. The Imagine a player playing in a team. Team is part of league. League is part of a federation that has got a tie-up with a media company, and and that same league federation team has a tie-up with brands, and the fans are playing the role about growing the whole thing. So every part of this ecosystem has a great potential to have the commercial side. The leagues have their own brand, ways of making money. The teams has got their own ways of making money, and also at the grassroots level they can start making money for the future. The players are making money through the teams and leagues, and also their own brand endorsement. The fans becomes the players, where for whom for whom the media as well as the brands are paying money. So we are talking about the money is there. The only thing is you need to have the right intent and a straight transparent mindset to make this thing happen for you. So this is what we're talking about, the whole commercialization of sports in India. There are a lot of things, and I think I would like to take last 5-10 minutes towards the questions. Otherwise, I can go on and on because that's my favorite topic, and I can go on. So let me just take a couple of questions. Okay, Sanjay Kamble asking, sir, which age group we can start the academy? I think academic has to be started from the age group of 6 onwards. So there is nothing stops you from starting the academy for 6 to 16, because that is the age group that you should be focusing on, because you make an impact on the whole level of who is the future for you. If you want to start the kids, parents nowadays wants kids to go out and play, and that habit can be developed as young as 5-6 years old. So start the academy at that level, but don't teach them. Make them play, make them enjoy the game. Don't teach them skills, don't teach them anything else. Let them enjoy. After 8 9 you start focusing on the skill development, and after that you start developing the other stamina and the speed and other things. So make sure the ground or the court or the field is the place where kids are enjoying themselves. The moment you do that, you have a buyer for you for at least next 6 years or 7 years. So imagine people are struggling that I don't have a loyalty or I don't have the regular buyer. If you give a good environment and a genuine, intentful place for the young kids, the parents are going to be your buyer for next 6 to 7 years. Uh, Kaishe Jackish, sorry, I may have got your name wrong. How do you attract scale companies to support a community-based youth club so that they can sponsor them in Wanda? Okay, so this is great. I think this is I'm having some international viewers. Okay, so we are talking about the attraction. It should not be, you shouldn't be going there with the selling mindset that okay, you give me sponsorship because I need money and this, and you have to make a value proposition to them. You have to talk about there's a small company there who can, I'll give the let's look at the USD numbers. So suppose your annual requirement is say $10,000 to run your club with basic profits which can be sustainable towards the next years. So for that, you're talking about tying up with a company and telling them it's not only about I'm giving you spot on my jersey or giving you the social media branding. I'm also going to create different stories for you. I'm going to create, my kids are going to speak about you. The kids' families get involved, so we can have a community event for you. We are going to talk about the ground or infrastructure that we have. We can do it for your company employment. See, every company has the HR department. HR department has a requirement mandate which is called employee engagement and keeping a healthy workspace. So you have to tap that. You don't have to go and sell what you want to sell. You rather go and talk to them about what do they, why do I have to, why do should they tie up with you, is what you should be going after. I think there is a, don't go after only the big money and then say no. Any money is good money as long as it is legit and used for the right purpose. It will grow eventually. It's not going to happen. I am working CSR. I I had a lot of struggle in CSR. In even though the market here is established and mature market, I still have problems in CSR. But it is growing. I see the good growth, and so that eventually will happen for you. But go with the mindset which is what is in for them, rather than why do you only talking about why do I need money. Uh, Sanjay, for performance plan for the 5 years. I sorry I didn't get the question. Uh, but anyways, I think I answered one of your other questions. So, how the Football Federation should change the mindset to become the more commercialized than sitting and waiting for FIFA financial aid? A great question. I think it is happening globally everywhere. It is not only Wanda, it's happening everywhere. India start taking good initiative because I think there's a backing from company like Reliance. Tata has done a phenomenal job for India for in football, the whole Jamshedpur TFA, and now Reliance is taking up the big thing, JSW getting involved. So I think there is a the good positive thing happening in India, and you don't have to the mind. See, the thing is, you have to understand if you have the scale happening at your end, what stops you from making that scale a better professional scale? You don't need a big broadcaster. You can also record the matches with one camera or two camera solution. Start streaming on your own local YouTube channel or your on the Facebook. Start getting the viewership. Start getting people around. They may not be a proper sitting capacity for people to sit, but at least let them come and stand. Make a carnival happen. For let the viewers and fans enjoy who are coming in to watch the game. Make it a carnival. Make it a community event. The moment that happens, the eyeballs will start falling into it from the corporates. The moment that happens, you're talking about the federations are going to look at, oh, I can make money out of it. See, it is not only it's not like federation is only waiting for the money to happen. It is also uh, a lot of people are stuck between the traditional approach and the what's the new thing. They don't know what is the new thing, but they're sitting on the in the power to decide. No, we know it all. So you at the club level or the academy level, you have to take these calls to make it happen. You make your own club or your own small league or for your area sustainable. The moment that thing happens, that sustainability model can be passed on and make it a infectious model for other people to start following and make them sustainable. The moment that thing becomes sustainable, nobody stops. Nothing stops you from going the commercial way, having your website, small content created, if underprivileged people or underprivileged kids or the girl child, and let them girls play, show that smile, spread the happiness through sports, because sports is one thing which is which is boundaryless, which can spread a lot of happiness. So do use that mechanism. Eventually they will change, the federation will change the mindset. It will take some time, it's a hard road, it's not an easy thing, but try and do it and try and show them that you can make a sustainable model for 2 years or 3 years for your club or your league and or for your city, and start replicating that model to other places. Immediately that might happen. I'm just being positive about it, I'm just being optimistic. uh Grainy Singh, hey, hi Jujar. With the pandemic outbreak more, there is an economic meltdown happening worldwide. What should be the right approach to gain traction in the terms of sports commercial communication with the athlete towards the brand association? Great question. It is right now the brand should be looking at continuing with the athlete. Athlete also needs to be understand it is brand should not be taking advantage of this situation and saying that okay, I want to have a pay cut, or I will not pay that much of money and all those things. You have to look at because we are talking about the engagement between two parties, athlete celebrity and a company. They are coming together because they believe they can come together. So though both have to now in situation like this, which is completely unexpected and completely unprecedented, uh, that we have to look at how both come together and take one step ahead uh, to come more closer and actually build this is the time where in fact the athlete and brand can have a more longer relationship, not only on the commercial side but at the side where you actually the conscious side, which is like understanding each other well. So uh, the athletes will suffer a little bit, companies are going to suffer a bit, but it is not about breaking the ties. It should be if athlete has committed to do something, they can do little extra for the brand to continue. The brand has to do okay. They are if they're actually doing extra for me, why not I continue with the brand? So it's a give and take relationship that don't happen, and it is going to be new. I'm also part of the whole talent management industry. It's going to be new, and we don't know what is there after 3rd May and beyond that. But yeah, it's going to be a different world for us. We don't even know how the games are going to be played, how they're going to be viewed, or how athletes are going to be played. So it's a different world that we are going to enter, and it may stay for next 6 months, 8 months. The hope that I have is the next year's Olympic will be the big event for sports that's going to unite the whole world again on the and start looking at the brighter side. Uh, I'll take a couple more questions. What is the corporate looking at the academy? Corporate looking in the academy or the club before sponsoring them? I think I spoke about that earlier. They are looking at, do you have a model which is sustainable? Are you doing it something for the community? Do you really care for this? Are you here for business, or you are doing beyond some business? So that is what you need to look at. Where do sports rehab centers stand in the sports business? It's a great place, to be very honest. I know a couple of my students have started their own rehab center in Pune, and I think it's a great place because it's the whole ecosystem. It's an athlete ecosystem. You have to, if you have a rehab center, you have to go and tie up with the grassroots level clubs. You have to go and tie up with the amateur or the semi-pro athletes or the pro athletes who can come and train or go through the whole conditioning at your own center. And I think that will be your visibility towards the bigger thing. Imagine you have to look at the only competitive athletes. There is just so much of lifestyle problem happening with the people, and there's a lifestyle like people are running marathons and cycling and everything. A lot of lifestyle problems are happening. Your center can also cater to those and not only look at the sports and the hardcore athletes. Where can I find the investor to set up sports infrastructure? Great question, Parag. If you find one, do let me know as well. Uh, so no, I think you have to keep looking, guys. There's no easy answer for this. We don't know how the where do you find a investor? It's like the Eureka moment can come anytime, or the apple falling from the tree you were eating for a long time, and suddenly you understand there's a gravity. So yeah, you don't know. You just don't do a business or don't do something because you want investment. Do something because you are invested in it. So if you are invested into what you're doing, people will see value and they'll start believing in you. So yeah, that's a short answer. What would you recommend for a sports analytic business? How to start? Great, Sudarshana. How to start is basically at the software level or even the regular Excel sheet level. Go and work if with the local clubs. They look at somebody who has a football or basketball or cricket club from the age of 6 to 16, under 18, under 20, under 21, and the senior team. Look at the data. What are the parameters that you capture? The moment you capture the parameter, how do you take those parameters to the next level? And what all things that I'm no expert in sports technology or sports analytics. I'm no expert in sports analytics, but I understand one thing, that you have to start somewhere uh, which is going to be meaningful with the data, because your model will be successful only when you have the data that can be shown to the bigger level. So first understand how you get the data, analyze the data, find different mechanism to work on that and take it to next level. So yeah, so great. I think I have answered almost all the game. If anything missed, I'm really sorry, guys. Can be reached at my credentials. I'm on Twitter, Sid underscore Desh on Twitter. I have my own Facebook page called Sportsy, Sportsy, or even Sid Deshmukh. So you can follow me there. If you have any question, do drop me a note. And I try to be more and more upfront, and I'll try to answer most of the question if they come my way. And but if I miss out on something, I'm not trying to be rude, or I've just probably missed out, but I will try and answer most of the questions that you may have. Thank you again. Thanks, Vipul. Thanks, ISST. It's a great thing you guys are doing, and I think uh, we can look at the sports industry growing, because one thing, believe me, the one thing that comes together, that unites everybody together, is sports. And Nelson Mandela said uh, very well that sports is one language that youth understand. And the moment you go and hit the youth at the right place, you are talking about a better future. We are talking about nation building. The sports builds character, and we have to look at the people who are part of the sports industry. Has to look at not only building businesses, but you have to look at building characters, because the moment you build characters, the whole journey is going to be amazing. So that's my 2 cents. Hopefully, I was good for last exact 1 hour and try to answer something that I could in best of my knowledge and best of my ability. So okay, there's one more question coming in before you finish this. I think that guy is typing. I think it's from Wanda. So I think I'll take that question, international question. Thanks, Dinesh. So thanks. Great you like the session. Uh, Thank you guys. I'm that you liked. It's not. It's very. I enjoy talking to people when I see them in front of me. Right now, I'm just talking and looking at myself in the camera, and like, sometimes I feel okay. I'm just looking at the mirror and it find it a little weird. Suddenly, start seeing there are more white hair on my beard or something. But yes, it was fun. And okay, the last question has come in. Can you define what is the commercialization of anything, be it sport or any other service? See, commercialization is where you are, your money is the byproduct of the services that you do. The moment you're talking about there's a potential to make revenue out of it, there's a potential to make a business out of it, that's commercialization. That is again a very crude way of defining it. It's what I understand, how I understand it. It's not about, I don't have to earn that 1 rupee right away to call it commercialization. I can i just need to have a mechanism to earn that 1 rupee after 3 months of doing my process. So understand what are your needs, what are your wants, meet your needs, work towards your wants, and that is what I think the best way to understand what the commercialization of anything is, because that is what it is. It has to be commercial, it has to be sustainable, and that's the only way that we can grow in any industry, be it sports or anything else. So with that, I think I'll take a leave. Thank you guys. Stay safe, stay indoors, stay healthy, and this too shall pass, and we will come out as winners. So cheers, guys. Thank you.